Golf is often criticized for being a rich person's game. From the clubs to the balls, it can add up to big bucks. So we thought we'd give you some tips on how to play golf without spending a fortune. We met up with creative consultant and golf aficionado Chris Matyszczyk at Boundary Oak Golf Course in Walnut Creek, California, to share his opinion. Tip number 1, don't buy new golf balls. You have a simple tip for saving a lot of cash. What is it?
Yes, it's incredibly simple. It's simply the fact that golf balls are incredibly expensive.
How expensive?
Well, sometimes $5, $6 each for the really supposedly good ones. So if you go play where there's no one playing behind you and you happen to hit a bad shot into the rough or into the woods, go into those woods, spend a little time in there, and you'll find maybe 10, 11, 12 golf balls of remarkably good quality that frankly you won't have to pay a dime for.
Tip number 2, buy last year's golf clubs. You can't play a round of golf unless you have some clubs. You can probably spend thousands on clubs, is that right?
Well, it depends, how mentally deficient you are. Yes, of course you can spend thousands on golf clubs. It's the same reason people spend thousands of dollars on, say, Gucci leather jackets. They want to look good. You could pay just $1,000 for a couple of woods. And it's an exorbitant amount of money, especially when you think about the fact that next year those same clubs will cost you maybe 60% less because, of course, the manufacturers have to bring out some shiny new version for new mugs to buy.
So basically you're buying last year's model. It's the same thing you do when the new iPhone comes out.
Absolutely, but last year's model isn't going to help you hit it better or worse necessarily, especially if your handicap is 35.
Tip number 3, don't buy designer golf attire. So how do you answer the question of, I don't have a thing to wear? Because people like to look fashionable on the golf course, don't they?
But is that a wise thing that they like to look fashionable on the golf course? I mean, what sense does it make to look fashionable? Do NFL players look fashionable when they go play?
Well, they have uniforms.
Well, and golfers seem to think they have uniforms, but in fact the only rule is for most golf clubs is that you wear a collared shirt. Every man in the whole world owns at least one shirt with a collar.
All right, now that we have all the golf gear figured out, what about where and when to play? Tip number 4, play during off hours. When's the best time to play? I'm assuming that the peak times are definitely more expensive?
That's true. The best time to play is when there's no one else on the golf course. There is nothing more beautiful than a golf course that exists just for you. But you've got to think about, the way other people live their lives, and so most likely they'll be able to play Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, so you avoid those at all costs, especially as you say that they're far more expensive. And so you try and find times, and especially if you play golf for business, you try and make sure that you can get your client out on a Tuesday afternoon, for example, where there may be far fewer people around and you can have, frankly, far more fun.
Tip number 5, seek out cheaper green fees. What about the courses where you play? There's a huge range when it comes to the fees for these courses, but you can also save money, right? There are times when you can...
Not just times. I mean, there are websites now. Courses are like restaurants using open table. Courses have the same kinds of equivalents online where they're allowing certain tee times to be sold at a discount online. So that's the first way of saving money. But another way is to phone your local snooty, very posh country club. Because, believe it or not, some of them are now so desperate to make a little bit of money, they're allowing plebeians like you and I to actually grace their pristine grass. So you phone them up and you can say, can I please come and play at, say, 1 o'clock on a Tuesday? And you might haggle with them about the fee a little bit, but they might actually let you on. And wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't you feel like you'd gone up in the world?
Probably not, because I play very poorly.
It's not about playing poorly. We've established that. It's about looking good. No, wait, it's the other way around.
Chris, thank you so much for this economical guide to playing golf.
My pleasure.
For BNET, I'm Sumi Das.